So my presentation is on evaluating ethics and written law, so that's like government policies and stuff like that. My real life situation is about a man who wanted to join the army in America. He then went to America, went to the army, he got a medical and got diagnosed with a disease called keratoconus, which is something that limits your eye vision. And there was a law in the American army that restricted people with such eye diseases or such diseases in general to pop down me. But that was because that law was written in a period of time where there wasn't a solution to the keratoconus. Nowadays there is a solution though, which only takes 30 minutes. Regardless of that, he still can't join the army due to that law that was already in place. So what I draw out from this particular example was written laws, which is important, so as the policies that governments have written, outdated policies, which are laws that have been made sometime in the 20th century, but still exist in the 21st century, which are not really applicable anymore. I then also got the government, because they're the people writing the laws, and the individuals, which are the people affected. Exactly. So my knowledge question from that, my main one would be, to what extent is utilitarianism demonstrated in written laws, and how do government fallacies affect your policies? Our key terms to pick out from this would be utilitarianism, which is actions that benefit majority of the people. In this situation, you want governments which make policies that actually help majority of the people around, so laws that actually make people happy and don't cause conflicts, because if there's conflicts then majority of the people are happy. Our fallacies would be things that are misbeliefs in misbeliefs based on unreasonable judgments. So what that really means is that you have an idea of something and you think this is the right idea, but the evidence to back up that idea is wrong. And this is seen through the old policies, because it worked back then doesn't necessarily mean it's going to continue working in this century. Just because it was applicable then doesn't mean it's going to be applicable now. So links between my knowledge question and my real life situation. The policies are made for equality and to make things better for everyone. If this man had a disease and he could get fixed within 30 minutes, then it's not fair for him that he can't be part of the army, something he's wanted to do. As well as that doesn't make things fair for everyone. That doesn't make a fair level ground for everyone to join the army, even if he does have the actual qualities, except for the fact that his eyes are kind of weaker. People and governments change over time, so that's another evidence of why the policy should always be flexible and always be ready to change, because if technology is developing, why shouldn't laws develop at that same rate as technologies as well, as that same rate as everything else? So if that is holding us back, then people can't move on with their lives, and people can't really achieve what they plan to achieve. And all those that governments refuse to change, all those that the government refused to change, all believes that no longer works. So like I said before, if it once worked before, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work again. Ways of knowing and areas of knowledge that will be important in this particular presentation. First of all, I've chosen way of knowing of emotion, but it's because some governments, especially in developing countries, have leaders who have a kind of biased perspective and want to make things suit them rather than be willing to listen to other people. Reason, which is rationalism, it's a theory that basically states that you're making judgments based off evidence and knowledge rather than emotion and religious knowledge. Areas of knowledge that's important is religious knowledge and religious knowledge systems, because we see through the scriptures like the Bible, Quran, all these laws are made to make things better for people and people are meant to follow, but how well they actually achieve utilitarianism is iffy. And fundamentalism, which are the strict laws in these religions that restrict people from doing what they really want to do. And of course ethics for utilitarianism, which is greater good of the people, and the self-interest theory, because that's the theory that basically states that some people go for the greater good of themselves rather than the greater good of the majority of the people. So my first perspective, which is a governmental perspective, is the laws governments have written are for the greater good of the people. My first example of this is based on ethics and it's based on utilitarianism. It's basically Hitler, who believed in, of course, the Aryan race and a fascist ideology. But believe it or not, Hitler himself was doing this because he believed what he was doing was for the greater good of the people. He thought he was benefiting everybody in Germany. He thought he was doing the right thing. So obviously, this shows how government policies could go wrong, but government policies could go wrong, but really, from their perspective, what they're thinking and what they're doing is proving to be right from their perspective. Another example of this is in religious knowledge systems where you have scriptures from the Holy Bible, for example, the Ten Commandments, which teaches good beliefs, good morals, good attitudes. And for example, one of them, the Ten Commandments is something that was set out by Moses to the people to get the Israelites to behave in the right manner, to not be doing wrong things. And this positive behaviors that God and Moses imposed on the people made the Israelite community a better, happier place, which does support utilitarianism, which shows that laws are initially written out to make people better, to affect the greater good of people, to make everything a more peaceful and more equal ground for everyone. Next slide. A contrasting perspective on this, though, would be from an individual's point of view, which is governments can be neglectful towards utilitarianism, which will be proven later. Next slide. Fundamentalism, which is strict laws seen in all religions that are neither flexible or changeable. Because religious scriptures are already written and set a long time ago, it's improbable that you're ever going to change them, that they're ever going to be changed. So laws that really restrict people from doing things from moving on and developing with time as time goes on, do not really change. An example of this is in the Quran. There's about 109 verses which actually preach to fight against people who make fun or argue against Allah. So this behavior of fighting or aggressiveness doesn't support benefits the majority of the people, and therefore doesn't support utilitarianism, but supports something called deontology, which is actually the opposite theory of utilitarianism, which supports minority before the majority. So that means a small sector of people are happy before doing the greater good for the greater good, which in this case would just be Islam's, because most people who are followers of Muslims, because fighting for your religion doesn't really cause peace or utilitarianism to a greater good for people. Another example of this is fundamentalism, which is seen through the real life example of gay marriage. In the terms of gay marriage, it's a situation that has developed over time that more people are now proud to actually can't say that they're gay, but yet there's laws in the Bible and there's laws in the Quran that do not support this. Based on this, based on the fact that people have developed into being more proud of this, countries which do follow a fundamentalism kind of structure, like in the Middle East, where most of the laws are based off the Quran, people who are actually gay will not be able to have a right in that country, which doesn't support utilitarianism. Although in this time and era, more people are gay. So as time goes on, laws should change, but this doesn't happen everywhere due to such strict laws like fundamentalism. Another perspective is that governments don't make laws based on emotions, but they use rationalism to make these laws, which is more of a governmental perspective on the situation. Rationalism is, like I said earlier, when you make decisions based off knowledge and evidence rather than emotion and religious knowledge, like done in certain countries in the Middle East. If a government is choosing to use rationalism, they limit the amount of fallacies in your laws, and they limit the possibility of having bias in your reasoning, because everything is fair and they have evidence to back up the laws and policies that they make. Next slide. Our contrasting perspective on that is, well, basically this is trying to say that governments should have a bias, and therefore it will affect how fair they are on the laws. An example of this would be Kim Jong-un, who is somebody who's biased because he doesn't like to listen to other people's opinions on him, or opinions on what should be done to make things fair for greater people. And he also does demonstrate something called self-interest theory, which is supporting what he wants first before the greater good of people. As you can see, he's already broken a lot of human rights set out by the UN, and this shows how he listen to people, he doesn't care what other people think, he doesn't support the greater good, and he prefers to do things first to satisfy himself before going for other people. Next slide. And my conclusion. So just to restate my questions, to what extent is utilitarianism demonstrated in written laws? How do government policies affect job policy? Governments try to serve the majority of the good, as seen earlier with Hitler and all the other people, but due to things like self-interest bias and fundamentalism, these laws can be restricted because of fallacies in them, and there's a possibility of always getting them wrong. So my conclusion is that governments should always be ready to evaluate the laws and see if it's still applicable to the time that they're in, and if they're still helping to serve the basic good of the people. Alright, and if that is done, the situation like this man who couldn't join the army due to outdated law will not happen anymore.